LD is go for prop hook. Stage 2 fuel load is complete. evening. You're looking at a live view of Falcon 9 as it awaits its 12:26 a.m. Eastern Time liftoff from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral on Sunday, June 6th. My name is Jesse Anderson, and I'm a lead manufacturing engineer here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California, where it's still Saturday evening. Welcome to our webcast for SXM-8, our second launch for Sirius XM. Today also marks SpaceX's 18th launch of 2021, and we're only halfway through the year and already have launched more than we did in 2019. If you're wondering if today's customer to the music provider, your guess would be correct. The satellite being launched today will enable SiriusXM's ability to provide users with satellite-powered audio radio services for at least the next 15 years. We'll share a few more details about today's payload a bit later in the webcast. And as many of you likely know, across the world, June is as LGBTQ+ Pride Month. Here in the United States, Pride Month commemorates the 1969 Stonewall riots, widely recognized as a catalyst for the gay rights movement globally, and recognizes the impact LGBTQ+ people have had in the world. Here at SpaceX, we have encouraged everyone to use this month and every month as a springboard to celebrate, learn, discuss, and reflect upon the ways the STEM, aerospace, and aviation fields have also benefited and advanced from the work of the LGBTQ+ community. And we encourage you to do the same. Before we take a closer look at the rocket on your screen, here's a quick breakdown of today's mission profile. Once Falcon 9 lifts off the ground in about 10 minutes from now, our first and second stages will separate at about 2.5 minutes into flight. The first stage will return back to Earth, and we will be attempting to recover it on our drone ship Just Read the Instructions for a third time. While that's happening, our second stage will continue on its journey. In order to get the satellite to its intended orbit, we will be igniting our Merlin vacuum engine twice today. Finally, the deployment of the Sirius XM satellite will occur at around T+31 minutes. On your screen is a live view of Falcon 9, our two-stage bipropellant vehicle. The Falcon 9 vehicle is about 70 meters or 229 feet tall, just slightly taller than the wingspan of a 747 aircraft. The bottom two-thirds of the vehicle is the first stage, which accelerates the vehicle along with the payload through the Earth's atmosphere out to space with the help of 9 Merlin engines. The first stage is also the part of the vehicle that we land back on Earth to be reflown over and over again. And like many of our missions this year, today's first stage is flying again. This is the third flight for this specific booster. Prior to today's mission, it supported 2 NASA Crew missions, Crew 1 in November of last year and Crew 2 in April of this year. Today, we will be attempting to recover the first stage on our drone ship Just Read the Instructions, stationed out in the Atlantic Ocean. You can see a live view from Just Read the Instructions on your screen. At the top of the vehicle, on top of the first stage, is the black carbon fiber inner stage, and right above that is the Falcon 9 second stage, which has a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine. Now, once the first and second stages separate at about 2.5 minutes into the mission, the MVAC engine will ignite and carry the SXM-8 satellite into an elliptical orbit around Earth. Now, at the very top of the rocket is a composite structure, which we call the payload fairing. And that's what you see right there on your screen. Today's fairing will protect the SXM-8 satellite from aerothermal heating, aerodynamic loads, and contamination during ascent. Once we reach the vacuum of space, we no longer need this protection, so we will jettison the fairing as the second stage to orbit. Today, the fairing halves protecting the SXM-8 satellite are taking flight for the first time, and we'll be recovering them with our recovery vessels, Go Searcher and Go Navigator. Falcon 9 has been loading propellants since T-35 minutes, and we use a rocket-grade kerosene, or RP1, which stands for Rocket Propellant 1, as our fuel, and super-chilled liquid oxygen, or LOX, as our oxidizer to power Falcon 9. Currently, RP1 and LOX are nearly fully loaded on both stages, and LOX will continue to be topped off right until the final minutes of the countdown. If for some reason we do not launch today, we have a backup launch opportunity available tomorrow at the same time. As of now, we're still in good standing for an on-time liftoff. The latest weather forecast is 70% favorable, and weather conditions look good for the booster recovery as well. Now with that, the vehicle, satellite, weather, and range are all good to go for Falcon 9's 12:26 a.m. liftoff from Space Launch Complex 40. If you're just tuning in, as we mentioned earlier, for today's mission, we're launching a high-powered digital audio radio satellite for Sirius XM known as SXM-8. We previously launched the SXM-7 satellite for Sirius XM last December. To learn more specific details about today's satellite, let's check out this video from the satellite's manufacturer, Maxar. T-minus 5.5 minutes from liftoff, and Falcon 9 is now moving into the final stages of the countdown. Now, we're currently waiting for the transporter erector, the TE, to retract. That'll happen in about a minute from now, or just under a minute from now. The TE is the white painted structure that's positioned right next to the vehicle. On your screen, it's to the left of Falcon 9. As we prepare to transition into the final stages of the countdown, the TE clamps will open, and then the transporter erector will begin to retract away from the rocket slightly. And as the Falcon 9 lifts off at T0, hydraulics will pull the TE farther away, and that clears the way for Falcon 9's liftoff.
Strong back retract. Sequence has started.
Sounds like we got a call out to start opening up those clamps. Now the TE provides liquids, gases, electrical connections to the second stage, as well as air conditioning to the payload fairing.
Strong back retract. Sequence has started.
And there you can see on your screen those clamps that I mentioned earlier are opening up. Once those are fully open, then the TE can start to retract. And it looks very, very slight, but that transporter erector is now starting to recline just slightly there, as I mentioned. And that looks like it completes the strong back retract. Now at this time, the first and second stages are both nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. And as the super chilled liquid oxygen, which is our propellant oxidizer, turns into gas as it meets the warmer, humid ambient air during loading, it forms those white clouds that you see around Falcon 9.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
And there's that call out that LOX load is complete on the first stage. Now for your awareness, second stage will complete LOX loading at T-minus 2 minutes. And at T-minus 60 seconds, Falcon 9 will be in startup. And what that means is the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers will have taken over the launch countdown. Just inside T-minus 2 seconds, we will light the Merlin M1D engines to get set for liftoff. With a few minutes left in the countdown, the SXM-8 payload continues to be healthy, and the Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket. The surrounding ground, water, and airspace received its green for launch from the range. So with about 2 minutes left, getting into the final stages of the countdown. LOX loading should be complete here in a few seconds.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
And there's that call out. Now both first and second stage fully loaded with LOX. So now that LOX loading is complete, we will clear out the LOX line on the transporter erector, and you can kind of see some of that venting happening. As I mentioned, those white clouds from the LOX hitting the warmer ambient air and turning into gas. The next event coming up is Falcon 9, going into startup just around T-minus 1 minute.
Flight computers in startup.
And there's that call out. Next call out will be from the launch director.
Falcon 9, Sirius SXM-8, LD is go for launch.
And awesome call out. Sounds like we are go for an on-time liftoff today.
T-minus 30 seconds.
And with all systems go for launch, let's listen in to the terminal count and watch as Falcon 9 takes the SXM-8 satellite into orbit.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition and liftoff.
Stage 1 chamber pressures are nominal.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off with the SXM-8 satellite from Space Launch Complex 40. Now the next event coming up here is Max Q, and that is maximum aerodynamic pressure. That's the largest structural load that the vehicle will see on ascent. So we do power down the engines just slightly in preparation. And then
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
after Max Q, we will throttle them back up.
Vehicle has reached maximum aerodynamic pressure.
And there's that call out that we just passed through Max Q. So in about a couple of minutes, we will have 3 events happening within seconds of each other. That'll be main engine cutoff, or what we call MECO, stage separation, and SES-1, or second engine start 1. Now main engine cutoff is where we shut down all 9 of those M1D engines on that first stage. And that slows the vehicle down in preparation for stage separation. Stage separation is where the first stage separates from the second stage, and the first stage will begin to make its way back home to Earth for landing, and stage 2 will continue on its journey with the third event, SES-1. Now that's where the MVAC engine on the second stage lights up and propels the second stage along with the SXM-8 satellite to orbit. And we're just under about 20 seconds away from those 3 events. Again, that is MECO, stage separation, and SES-1.
MECO. Stage separation confirmed. MVAC ignition.
And there you could see all three of those events, MECO and stage separation. On your left-hand screen is a view of first stage. On your right-hand screen, you could see that MVAC engine on the second stage, glowing bright red. You also got a little glimpse of the green T-TEB ignition for SES-1. Now we're coming up on fairing deploy here, just under 10 seconds away.
Vehicle's on a nominal trajectory.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And there we got a nice live visual of the fairing halves deploying from second stage. As a reminder, this was the first flight for both fairing halves, and we will be attempting to recover these new fairing halves with the help of our recovery vessels, Go Navigator. As second stage head towards its targeted orbit, stage 1 will execute 2 burns in order to make its way back to Earth. The first of those 2 burns is called the entry burn, and that's where we light up 3 of the 9 M1D engines. Now this helps to slow re-entering back into the upper parts of the Earth's atmosphere. And then after the entry burn will be the second and final burn, and that is the landing burn. Now this is a single engine burn that brings the vehicle speed down rapidly in order to touch down on our drone ship. Again, today we will be attempting to land on Just Read the Instructions. If you're just catching up with us, we had a successful launch of Falcon 9 from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station's 40 launch pad. And now you're looking at a live view of Falcon 9's Stage 2 as it delivers the Light 2 orbit. Stage 1 is currently cruising back to our drone ship, Just Read the Instructions, in the Atlantic Ocean. And as a reminder, today's mission is for Sirius SXM, carrying the SXM-8 satellite to its targeted orbit.
Falcon 9 continues to follow a nominal trajectory.
And SXM-8 is the 12th satellite to be launched for SiriusXM's service. It transmits 73 decibel watts at peak power, which is 20 million watts of power. Now, deploying the unfurlable reflector is like opening a large umbrella in space. And a very large umbrella, it's about 9 meters or 29 feet, which is taller than the average 2-story house. Now, with the solar arrays deployed, the length of the satellite is about the same length as a 737 airplane. Now, we're coming up on entry burn on the first stage, just under 10 seconds away or so.
Stage 1 FTS has safed.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there you heard the call out, and on your left-hand screen, you could see that the entry burn has begun on the first stage. Seconds or so. And again, it helps to slow the vehicle down as it's entering back into the Earth's atmosphere.
Stage 1 entry burn shut down.
And again, there's that call out, and you can see on your left-hand screen that the entry burn has. On your right-hand screen, stage 2 is still looking nominal. And we're just about a minute away from the landing burn on the first stage. And right before the landing burn will be second engine cutoff 1 or SECO 1. And that's where we shut down that MVAC engine that you're looking at on your screen there. A reminder, we do have 2 burns of this MVAC engine for today's mission, and that helps get
Second stage is in terminal guidance.
That helps get the SXM-8 satellite to its final orbit.
Stage 1 transonic.
Again, a couple events happening back to back here. SECO 1
Stage
coming up
2
here
flight
shortly,
termination system has safed.
followed by the landing burn.
Stage 1 landing burn startup.
Sounds like the landing burn has begun on first stage. We could see,
Expected loss of signal. Cape.
sounds like we also got a good
Nominal
orbit on the
parking
second
orbit
stage.
insertion.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
And we have touchdown of Falcon 9. Falcon 9 has
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
just landed on our drone ship. Just read the instructions. Today marks the 87th overall successful recovery of an orbital class rocket, as well as SpaceX's 125th successful mission to date. Now, while that was all happening, we did have a successful SECO 1, and a call out for good orbit. So now that second stage is going to coast in this orbit or so. So we'll see you back here at T plus 25 minutes for the second stage relay.